So these are the countries with the most oil reserves, okay? Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Canada, Iraq, UAE, Kuwait, United States, Russia. Now what's interesting about this is this. This war in the Middle East is going to knock out the oil production of Saudi Arabia, of Iraq, of Iran, of UAE, of Kuwait, which leaves, Venezuela, Canada, and the United States, North America, and Russia. Okay? Now, let's look at who buys oil. The United States consumes a lot of oil, but again, it has its own supply of oil. China needs to import a lot of its oil. All right? So China, India, Japan, South Korea imports a lot of oil. And where does it get its oil from? The Middle East, right? So if it can't get its oil from the Middle East, then these four countries, China, India, Japan, and South Korea, will need to get the oil either from the United States or Russia. And why does this matter? Well, let's look at who owns the most US treasuries. America right now is $39 trillion in debt. That's a lot of money, but as long as people continue to buy US debt, as long as people want to buy US treasuries, it's not a problem, okay? It's a Ponzi scheme. So let's look at this. Who are the biggest holders of US debt? Japan, China, Taiwan, Singapore, Hong Kong, India. Okay, so this is all Asia. And we already said Asia needs our oil from the Middle East. Now let's look at others. United Kingdom is second, okay? Cayman Islands is basically just Europe as well. Belgium, Luxembourg, Canada, France, Ireland, Switzerland. These countries are Europe. And again, where do we say most oil from the GCC go? It goes to either Asia or Europe. And now because of the stupid war in the Middle East, Asia and Europe are now forced to buy oil from either Russia or the United States. This is important because previously there's a fear that these countries would stop buying US treasuries because America is too heavily in debt. So there's this great fear that Europe and Asia would move away from the US dollar and more towards Swiss francs or gold, okay? Now, because Europe and Asia need fertilizer, energy from the United States no longer has to worry about its debt, okay? Because the entire world is dependent on North America for resources. The Ponzi can keep on going. Now, you're like, wait, but Donald Trump's an idiot. Where would he get this idea from? And the answer is because Putin has already proven that this strategy works in Ukraine. So let me show you how, okay? So this is the war in Ukraine. The dark red are areas in which Russia is contesting territory. The pink are areas in which Russia wants to gain territory. Russia still has a long way to go, which means that this war can go on for another 10, 20 years. It's a very slow grind, and it's good for Russia. Yes, I know that the Russian economy is suffering, but this long war of attrition is good for Russia. Why? Well, because first of all, it allows Russia to industrialize its economy. It allows Russia to center its economy around war production, okay? So the red is total industry. It's been going up since the war started. Unfortunately, industries that have no war purpose, it's actually going down. So it seems as though the entire Russian economy is being restructured for a long war. And that is the purpose, that is the goal. And the trend is increasing, meaning it is possible in 4 or 5 years' time, Russia is primarily a war economy, industrializing to produce war weapons, okay, munitions, specifically drones, okay? Before, at the beginning of the war, Russia was dependent on Iran for drones, okay? What happened over time is that Russia started to have its own domestic production, okay? Domestic production has gone way up, which tells us that the Russian economy is industrializing for the production of drones. Now, not only can Russia produce its own drones for the war, but it can also export its drones to Iran to fight against the Americans. And so you're like, wait a minute here. Russia is switching its entire economy to war production, which means that Russia will always fight wars. Is that what Russia is planning? And the answer is yes, it is. And so let me explain why Russia is planning this. This is something called the Third Rome Plan, okay? And this comes from the 1996 book, Foundations of Geopolitics by Alexander Dugin. And his argument is this. His argument is this unipolar moment of American dominance, it's going to fade away because it's too much focus on secularism, individualism, liberalism. And these ideas break apart community. So eventually, Western society, Western civilization will collapse. And when it collapses, this gives opportunity for Moscow to become the third Rome, okay? But what's brilliant about Dugin is he recognizes that when the world collapses, all Russia has to do is stay stable and resilient. As the global economy collapses, every other society will face eternal collapse. So he predicts civil war in the United States. He predicts collapse of China, predicts collapse of Europe, okay? So all these places are collapsing. Basically, if you are the main pillar of the global economy, you are much more susceptible to collapse than if you are not, okay? The strategy is, first of all, Russia needs to stay coherent. It needs to defend its territory. It needs to unify its people through nationalism, through religion. And then what Russia needs to do is figure out allies which support the Russian outlook. And these allies could include Japan, Vietnam, India, Iran. And then by combining their forces, they become a trading bloc onto themselves. This is an age of nuclear weapons. You don't want to go to war against each other. So as long as you're able to stay coherent, as long as you're able to defend your borders, then you'll come out ahead. So that's the idea of moving towards war. Because war has a power to unify the imagination and the beliefs of the people in your nation. So you're using war in order to increase the nationalism, which will allow you to weather the storm better. So that is the grand vision of Alexander Dugin. And Russia is moving towards this by invading Ukraine. And so by taking over Ukraine, you now control 1/3 of the world's carbohydrates and a lot of the world's energy. Once you control Ukraine and the Black Sea, you are now able to export your energy and your food to Africa, to the Middle East, to Europe, to Asia. So that's the grand vision for Russia. The world is collapsing, and so you have to build a fortress. You have to be self-sufficient in order to weather the storm. So given this, America is like, well, we can do the same thing, okay? And so the grand plan for America is something called the Technate, okay? And the Technate is very simple. It's the idea that, you know what? Yes, the world is going into chaos, but North America is self-sufficient, right? So these past few months, Donald Trump has been picking a fight with Denmark over Greenland, right? He's been threatening Canada, threatening Mexico. He's taking over Venezuela. He's been threatening Cuba. Why is he doing this? Because they're all part of the grand vision for greater North America, right? And this is a response to Moscow's third Rome. If Moscow is going to build this grand alliance, then America has no choice but to also build this grand alliance as well in order to protect itself in this coming storm. So what Donald Trump has recognized is that the world is collapsing. There's nothing we can do to save the world. So let's just accelerate it in a way that allows America to benefit, okay? So by collapsing the Middle East, you make Asia and Europe now dependent on North American energy and fertilizer exports. Does it make sense? So let us summarize. So in September 11th, 1991, George H.W. Bush, he responds to the fall of the Berlin Wall, coining a new phrase called the New World Order. And there are three major pillars to the idea of the New World Order, okay? The first idea is that America will become the financial capital of the world, making Wall Street the center of the world. The other idea is the idea of secular multiculturalism. So the world is divided, but what can unite everyone is the love of money. So if we just focus on making money and buying things, then the world will be forever at peace. And so we have to let go of borders. We have to let go of community. We have to let go of identity and focus more on consumerism. And the last idea is global domination, where in order for global trade to happen, America will provide security for all. America will guarantee global peace. If anyone rises to challenge this order, then America will go destroy it. So these are the three main pillars as announced by George H.W. Bush. Trump world order is a response to this. Basically what Trump is saying, and what he's been saying for a long time is, why should America pay for the defense of other nations? Why are Americans paying for everything so that Europeans can have their welfare? Everyone's taking advantage of America. So let us change the New World Order to the Trump world order, okay? And how do you do that? Well, you move America from a focus on finance to a focus on resources and manufacturing. You believe the world is going to permanent war, and so you provide the resources and the manufacturing in order to facilitate this world war. Multiculturalism doesn't work. It leads to stupidity such as DEI, transgenderism. It's all retarded. Let's focus on what makes us proud to be Americans, which is Christian nationalism, okay? Our nation and God, okay? So no more of this multiculturalism, no more immigration, no more Democratic Party. Let's just focus on being Christian nationalists. And the last idea is, why should America pay to protect the world? Screw Pax Americana, let's just do MAGA, okay? What is MAGA? Let's make America great again by rebuilding America's manufacturing industry. So again, I understand Trump is an idiot. Launch America into this stupid war in the Middle East. Trump has pissed off all of America's allies. But if the goal was to destroy the global economy and rebuild America for the benefit of Americans, then Trump is a genius. And he may go down in history as America's greatest president. Okay? But basically, the idea is that America is a house of cards. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's corrupt. It's unequal. It's lazy. It's in decline. So it's going to fall apart sooner or later. But the question then is, like, how do you manage this decline? How do you control this decline in a way that allows you and your friends to benefit the most? And that's why Donald Trump started this war in the Middle East. Because by starting this war in the Middle East, you're extending the process of decline in America, and therefore you're able to help transform America from an economy that's based on finance to one that's based on resource exploitation and then manufacturing. Okay, does that make sense?